Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome back to Wayne State University for the 2017 Athletics Hall of Fame. My name is Jason Clark, and it is my pleasure to be the Master of Ceremony for today's event. On behalf of Wayne State University and the Department of Athletics, I would like to welcome each of you to the 42nd Annual Athletic Hall of Fame celebration. Today's event is an opportunity to showcase the very best of Wayne State athletics, and it gives us great pleasure to have all of you share in this very special occasion. Now I would like to briefly introduce the Hall of Fame class of 2017. I will just ask that each of you stand and be recognized. First, Miss Cassie Chetsky, diving. Miss Sarah Franklin, swimming. Miss Sharon Gill, tennis. Miss Casey Haynes Rommel, softball. Mr. Donald Urban, football, track, wrestling, and golf. And Mr. Michael Wiseman, baseball.
On behalf of the entire athletic department, I also want to congratulate all the inductees. This is quite an honor. This is our 42nd class, and it now brings to 237 of you so recognized, and that's a pretty elite group over 100 years. Don Urban. All right, Don Urban. When Don came to school in 1961, things were a lot different. You know, it used to be you would never see a woman wearing a tattoo. And the only guys who ever wore tattoos were either sailors who got a little too exuberant on shore leave or Popeye. Don Urban shows up in 1961, unrecruited and unannounced, with a tattoo on his arm. The rest of the student athletes were in shock. Who is this guy? Well, on the side of his arm was tattooed USMC. United States Marine Corps. Don had spent 4 years in the Marines before he got to Wayne State. He was literally a man competing with boys. He had just come off playing with the Marines All Far East team that had won a championship. Now, we don't have any film from their performances, but my understanding from some pretty good sources is the Marines played a pretty physical game. When he gets here, the student athletes can't believe that here's this guy with this tattoo. But that soon changed from shock over that to just how exceptional of a student athlete he was. He was a leader among men. He took the young men on different programs and instilled in them a sense of confidence that they could be better, that they could compete, and they could win. It reminds me of the old Lou Holt story when he first became a head coach at William & Mary. And they had had a long streak of losing years. And his whole goal was to build up confidence in his young charges. And he thought during the off season and the preseason, he had achieved that they thought they could go out in the field and win. Their first game was against the Naval Academy at Annapolis. And as the team is warming up in the pregame, he notices one of his big linemen standing in the middle of the field, looking around at the midshipman stadium. And he thinks, this is not a good sign. And he walks up to the young man and he says, son, are you okay? Are you ready? I mean, we could beat these guys, right? He's like, Coach, I'm not sure. He goes, come on, we've talked about this. You know, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like us. You know, we're ready for this. And as the young man looked around, he looked at the names embossed on the side of the stadium from the gate great naval victories, Saipan, Incheon, Lady Gulf, Iwo Jima. And he turned to his coach and he says, "Coach, I don't know. They play a hell of a schedule here." That's the kind of confidence Don Urban brought to the team. As a football player, he never left the field. He played quarterback and cornerback. He actually punted and returned kickoffs. And while he was co-captain, they were conference champion. He also competed in wrestling at both 177 pounds and at 191 pounds. Now you might think as a wrestler, his weight is fluctuating back and forth. No, his weight stayed exactly the same. The coach knew that if he put Don Urban in there, they were going to be okay. See, I guess in the Marine Corps, they don't line you up with the enemy according to size and height and weight. You take who's ever coming. He also competed in track, ran the 220, the 440, the 880 relay, the mile relay, and the long jump. He was a co-captain of the wrestling team, and his last 2 years, he decided to try golf, maybe with the idea that he could go on and join the PGA Tour. Don Urban is a throwback to that earlier era when we used to allow student athletes to compete in different sports. But he didn't just compete in those different sports. He excelled in those different sports. Today, that USMC might be a little faded, but we have another symbol to remind him of his achievement, a Hall of Fame plaque waiting for him. Don Urban.
Is there a Don Urban out there? Don Urban, please come forward. Don's citation reads in part, Don Urban was a 9-time varsity letter winner. A native of Detroit, Michigan, Don completed in football, wrestling, track, and golf during his collegiate career, earning 9 varsity letters, 3 each in football, wrestling, 2 in golf, and 1 in track, plus 3 freshman numerals in football, wrestling, and track. As a football co-captain in 1964, he helped the squad to the President's Athletic Conference Championship with a 4-1-1 league record. A versatile player, Urban played quarterback, end, cornerback, and linebacker, along with serving as a punter and kick returner during his career. As a wrestler, he competed at 191 pounds in heavyweight and served as a team co-captain as a senior. He was a member of the 1963 PAC Championship track squad, competing in the long jump at 220, 440 yards, and participating with a mile relay and 880 relay. He earned all PAC honors in 1963. He received the McKinsey Honor Society Award as a graduating senior in recognition of his exceptional campus leadership and service to the university. He also received the 1965 WSU Award for Athletic Achievement. Don, an education major, he was a 35-year career teacher and administrator in the field of special education, along with coaching 6 different high school sports following graduation. President Wilson, it gives me great pleasure to present Mr. Don Urban for induction into the Wayne State University Athletics Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you, Jason, for that very kind presentation. And I'm here today to offer my sincerest gratitude to dozens of people without whom this experience would not have been possible. Many thanks to the nominating committee, all of the teammates. I got a lot of teammates here. There's about 4 tables worth of guys here from old football guys and old fraternity guys. I've got to put a pitch in for Teeks because that's our fraternity back in the days when fraternities were kind of big time. I'm not really sure how the situation is today on campus, but back then Greeks were really big. They did an awful lot of volunteer stuff. We were involved in many, many things. The Tau Kappa Epsilon fraternity at the present time has a very widespread alumni group. We don't have a chapter on campus, but we're trying to get one established here. And we also have a use for our dues. We present it to the athletic department, and what Mr. Fournier does, we annually partially sponsor a deserving Wayne State athlete chosen by the athletic department, so we feel pretty good about that. And where would we be without coaches? I had a lot of coaches back in the day. Many thanks to our track coach, Frank McBride, who exuded class, was an accomplished head coach and mentor. Our relationship segued into my assisting him after I graduated in track. He led us to the conference championship my sophomore year. His tutelage helped me immensely when I later had the opportunity to coach high school track and field. Larry Lefty Russell, obviously he was left-handed. We didn't understand a left-handed golfer back in those days because everybody was right-handed. Nobody, famous came along at that time. But Larry was also our critic teacher. A number of us were student teachers at the time, getting ready to go teach health and physical education. And Larry had a great relationship with the squad because it was a smaller squad, just a few guys. And he dealt with us both professionally as our critic teacher and as a coach. So he was a great guy. We had a lot of fun with Larry. For football, Angus McKenzie, Hal Willard, and Stan Marshall and Bob Hurley led us to our conference championship our senior season. Angus and Bob Hurley were our wrestling coaches immediately after that. I had the good fortune to work with those guys after I graduated from college as well as an assistant. Coach McKenzie was the best man at our wedding, has been a good friend, and he's been an advocate and a mentor for the past 56 years. You can't believe that because most of you aren't even 56. But nevertheless, thank you, Angus. Now, in all the sports that I participated in at Wayne, I firmly believe that our coaches followed a simple philosophy. Do your best with honesty, integrity, and hard work. It certainly resonated with me during my coaching career, and it's not profound, but it is a pretty good way of looking at things in a general way. I would especially like to thank an old girlfriend of mine for always being there at the games and matches, never complaining about the out-of-town stuff, and never really complaining because the date might have started late. Fortunately, she's here today, my wife of 52 years. She's also a product of Wayne State, earning her bachelor's and master's degree in speech and theater, and led to a successful teaching career of 42 years. We're justifiably proud of her. Most of my family is here, our son, our daughter-in-law, son-in-law, and three of our grandchildren. However, there is a bittersweet aspect to this award ceremony. And that our middle son, Donnie, died this last September 15th after a 2-year battle with cancer. He would have loved to have been here. Smiling face constantly, positively just exuding from him. He'd be over at the table right there. Way to go, Dad. He's missed every day. May I take this opportunity to congratulate the other inductees. While you've proven yourselves on the playing field, I am reminded of a process a friend of mine related to me one time. This is kind of what an athlete goes through. He said, first you start with pain and suffering. That's the preparation. Preparation's always tough. The practices are hard and tough and what have you. You've got to overcome little injuries. The second step is endurance. We all have to have endurance. The third step means we begin to recognize whether we have what it takes to participate or to compete or even to excel. We've seen that today. That's the character stage. Next, we hope. We hope We do well for the team, for our university, and for ourselves. Well, it would appear one of your hopes has come true, since you've already proven yourselves in your particular sport, and like me, you're at least 5 years removed from graduation. You're of good character, as evidenced by your selection today, so your future looks bright indeed, so well done, you other kids. A long time ago, an acquaintance of mine shared a quote by George Washington Carver, which has helped me along the path. Here's what Carter said. How you go in life depends on you being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant with the weak and the strong. Because one day you will have been all of these. How true. Now, as much as this award represents, and as grateful as I am for it, the greatest reward Wayne State gave to me was a simple opportunity to help generations of kids learn how to think critically about the world about them. I had the distinct pleasure of working with learning disabled, emotionally disturbed, and socially maladjusted kids for my entire career. You'd be surprised at how astute these youngsters are about some of the complexities in the world today. Coupled with teaching, I had the good fortune of coaching a number of high school sports over the years. What was most gratifying was the positive trickle-down effect athletics had on student athletes regarding academics, attitude, confidence, and motivation. No question about the benefits. I coached some mediocre teams, some good teams, and some undefeated teams. And I maintain the basis for any athletic and/or coaching skills that I was able to demonstrate and apply came from my undergraduate days at Wayne State, where I was guided and trained by remarkable staff, coaches, and faculty. So in closing, may I say thank you all again for this most auspicious honor. God bless, and go Tartar! I mean, go Warriors!